Hello everybody, I hope you are doing wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome back to another lecture of corporate and economic laws. People, till now we have learned the chapter of how to raise finance from the capital markets, that is IPO. In the next two lectures, we are going to understand the chapter of insider trading. So before we move on to the theory part of this chapter, we are going to understand an amazing case study that's totally going to blow your minds. The reason why I take case studies in between the chapters is because of three big reasons, people. The number one reason is if a question is asked in the exam related to insider trading that you are not able to answer, you can explain this case study in your answer, fetching you marks. Okay, the reason why I chose this case study is because every single topic that I'm going to teach further is directly related to this case study. Cool. The second reason is it will increase your knowledge base. You will understand clearly what's happened in the past related to insider trading and what's going to happen or what's happening right now in the market related to insider trading. The third reason is, people, you will clearly understand how these insider trading laws are executed in practical world. Okay, so let's begin with this case study. So this case study is very fascinating because people will clearly understand what is insider trading, how does insider trading take place, how serious is insider trading, and what are the consequences of insider trading. Cool, people. So this is that incident that took place during 2008 financial crisis in the US. During this crisis, big companies, banks were losing lots and lots of money. And because these people were losing money, they did not have money to pay for the jobs of the people, because of which people were also losing jobs. Among the banks that were losing money was one of the biggest banks in the world called Goldman Sachs. You must all have heard about it. So Goldman Sachs was struggling financially. Okay. So because Goldman Sachs was struggling financially, that was called as one of the biggest banks in the world. People were losing trust in the banks. And once people lose trust in one of the biggest banks in the world, people, you can understand the consequences and repercussions of the remaining small banks. Okay. This will be a butterfly effect where entire banks will be collapsed if the situation persists. To stop the situation, what happened was Warren Buffett, you all have heard it, one of the biggest and the richest investors in the world, decided to invest $5 billion in Goldman Sachs. Now, because of this, Goldman Sachs will benefit in two ways. The number one reason is Goldman Sachs will have the money to run its operations, and number two, people will start trusting the banks again. Okay, because of this, the stock price will not collapse and the banks will not collapse. This is a very confidential information, people, that was only known to Goldman Sachs and Warren Buffett and his team in the company called, which company was Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, so this news was only known to the board of directors of Goldman Sachs in its board meeting conducted on 23rd September 2008. It was a very confidential board meeting, people. Nobody else was having the knowledge of Warren Buffett's huge investment of $5 billion. Among the board of directors was one guy sitting in the board called, his name was the left side guy. His name was Rajat Gupta. He was the board of directors of Goldman Sachs. What he did was, people, as soon as the board meeting got over, immediately he threw an SMS. He sent an SMS to his friend called Rajaratnam, the person on the right hand side of the picture. Rajaratnam was a fund manager in one of the biggest funds in the US, Galleon Group Hedge Fund. Okay, he was the head of Galleon Group Hedge Fund. Rajaratnam was the head of Galleon Group Hedge Fund, and Rajat Ratnam was the director of Goldman Sachs. Along with being the director of Goldman Sachs, he was also the director of Procter and Gamble. Earlier, he was the director of McKinsey and Company. Rajat Gupta was one of the biggest business tycoons in the world. He was equivalent to Ambani's and Adani's today during that time, 2008. So he was that huge people. So what he did was, without knowing anyone, as soon as the board meeting ended, he secretly transferred the information that Warren Buffett, through his company Berkshire Hathaway, is going to invest $5 billion in which company? Goldman Sachs. Okay, this company, this news was very, very confidential, people. If this news reaches the general public, it will cause a great fluctuations in the stock prices of Goldman Sachs. That is why this news was not allowed to go out in public. But Rajat Gupta transferred this message to his friend Rajaratnam. What Rajaratnam did was, people, he immediately bought 1,75,000 shares of Goldman Sachs because the prices of the bank's stock prices was very less. As soon as this news reached to Rajaratnam, he immediately purchased 1,75,000 shares of Goldman Sachs. And then what happened was, once this news went public, once this news was released to the entire public that Warren Buffett is going to invest $5 billion in Goldman Sachs, immediately the stock prices started to rise up and Rajaratnam made $1 million profit. This was a case. Now let's understand what was the consequences of this message being leaked. The case unraveled, people. The case was disclosed because Rajaratnam's phones were under surveillance as part of a broader insider trading investigation. Recorded conversations between Rajat Gupta and Rajaratnam became key evidence. For example, in one call, Rajaratnam was heard saying, "Rajat, just call me, I think this is going to be big." And what are the consequences, people? The consequences was Rajat Gupta, who was called as one of the biggest business tycoons equivalent to Ambani's and Adani's today. Rajat Gupta was charged with conspiracy and securities fraud. In 2012, he was sentenced to 2 years prison, people, and fined $5 million in order to pay restitution to Goldman Sachs, compensation to Goldman Sachs because of illegal profits that Rajaratnam and Rajat Gupta made together. And now, what happened to Rajaratnam, people? Rajaratnam didn't escape either. He was convicted of insider trading in 2011, sentenced to 11 years in prison and fined a whooping $150 million, people. That's a crazy amount. This is the consequences of insider trading. The key learnings are, people, using non-public material information to buy or sell securities for profit. That is called as insider trading. Number 2 was material information. Buffett's $5 billion investment was material because it directly impacted Goldman Sachs stock price. Number 2. Number 3 was consequences are severe. Both individuals faced jail time, fines, and public disgrace. This is how serious consequences can get if you are caught in insider trading. Okay, from this case study, people, who were the insiders? The insiders were Rajat Gupta, who was in the board of directors of Goldman Sachs, who had directly the access to an information that can directly affect the prices, stock prices of Goldman Sachs. Okay, Rajat Gupta was an insider, and who else was an insider? Rajaratnam was an insider, because even though he was not in the board of directors, people, he did have access to Rajat Gupta, who had access to price sensitive information. Rajaratnam, Rajat Gupta, the board of directors of Goldman Sachs, Berkshire Hathaway, and Warren Buffett are the insiders. Okay. Now the question is, what is the meaning of price sensitive information? The information where Warren Buffett is going to invest $5 billion in Goldman Sachs, this information is called as unpublished price sensitive information. What it is called, people? What it is called? Unpublished price sensitive information. That information that is related to the company or its securities, which can directly or indirectly affect the share price of that company, is called as unpublished price sensitive information. Okay, now what is called as unpublished price sensitive information? Unpublished means, people, unpublished means that information about a company or securities that is not publicly available, like that $5 billion news was not publicly available, but once it will become publicly available, it will cause change in the stock price of that company. Okay, unpublished price sensitive information means that information about a company or its securities that is not publicly available, but once it becomes publicly available, it will cause change in the prices of the stock of that company. Okay, this is called as unpublished price sensitive information. So this is a case study, people. Now let's move on to the definitions part. Okay, once you understand the definition part, we'll move on to the main context of insider trading regulations. Cool, people? Is everyone with me? Okay, I'm assuming you are saying yes, people. I cannot hear you, but I am assuming you are able to hear me. Okay, chalo. With this case study, let's understand what is insider trading. Till now, people, we have understood what is unpublished price sensitive information. What is unpublished price sensitive information, people? That information about a company or its securities that is not publicly available, but once made publicly available can cause change in the prices of the stock of that company. Can cause change in the price of the stock of the company. This is the definition of unpublished price sensitive information. That information about a company or securities which is not publicly available, but once it becomes publicly available, it will cause a change in the prices of the stocks. Okay, now connected person. Who are the connected person and who are the insiders? We are going to understand. Okay, let's understand who are the connected person. People, these are the dry topics which we will be learning at the end of this chapter. Okay, we should always start with something interesting and amazing, people, that's going to keep you engaged in this topic. That is the reason why we are going to study all the dry, less or more boring topic in the end. Connected person. Now, who is a connected person, people? A connected person is someone who has a relationship with a company. Rajat Gupta had a relationship with a company in the capacity of director. Okay, a person who has a relationship with a company that gives them direct or indirect access to unpublished price sensitive information, that we understood. Okay, now connected person. Who are the connected person? A connected person is someone who has relationship with a company that gives them direct or indirect access to what? Access to UPSI. Okay, Rajat Gupta had a direct connection with the UPSI. Now, who had an indirect connection with the UPSI? His name was Rajaratnam. Rajaratnam, though he was not in the board of directors, but he had access to the UPSI information, UPSI through Rajat Gupta. So, over here, direct means Rajat Gupta, indirect means Raja Ratnam. What happened was, people, Rajaratnam, through his Galleon Group hedge fund, he was the head of Galleon Group hedge fund. Through that hedge fund, he bought 1,75,000 shares of Goldman Sachs, from which he earned a profit of how much, people? He earned a profit of $1 million. That is it. $1 million he earned a profit. So over here, a connected person is someone who has a relationship with a company that gives them access to directly or indirectly unpublished price sensitive information. Over here, price sensitive information was $5 billion investment by whom, people? By Warren Buffett through his company called Berkshire Hathaway. If you study the concepts like this, no, people, what will happen is, immediately if a question is asked in the exam, you will immediately recollect this case study of Rajaratnam, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, Rajat Gupta. Everything will be crystal clear in your mind, and you will be able to write the answer effortlessly. Okay, that is the reason why I introduced this case study, so that I will not directly start explaining the concept because that will be very, very boring. But through a case study, and from the case study, I can relate the concept with the case study. Okay, so that you will be able to understand it effortlessly, crystal clear in the exam. Cool, people, cool. Okay. So, connected person's definition is over. Now, direct or indirect access to UPSI. What does that mean? A person actively working on a sensitive projects, Rajat Gupta. A person whose relationship reasonably allowed access to UPSI, Rajaratnam. Okay, all right. Now, connected person can be categorized into two parts. Connected person, next is deemed to be a connected person. Even though he is not a connected person, he will still be called as a connected person. Okay, let's understand who are the connected person. Connected person. This part identifies individuals or entities associated with a company in a way that grants them access to UPSI. The first criteria is he should be associated during the past 6 months. Rajat Gupta, even though he had shared the UPSI on 23rd September, that does not mean that after 6 months, he will not be called as a connected person. Even after 6 months, he will still be called as a connected person. What he's saying is, anyone who has been associated with the company either directly or indirectly during the 6 months preceding the concerned act. Concerned act means sharing of UPSI. A lawyer who advised a company on legal matters within the last 6 months will be called as UPSI. For example, people, if on 23rd September UPSI was leaked, anyone who was connected with the company since 23rd March will be called as connected person. He can be directly or indirectly can be related to the company. Next is association during past 6 months has been told. Now, what is the meaning of association, people? Let's understand. Association means frequent communication with officers. Number one, frequent communication with officers, regularly interacting with officers of the company. Example, a PR consultant who frequently communicates with company executives will be a connected person. Number two is if he is in the relationship of contractuary, fiduciary, and employment relationship. Anyone in these roles that enable access to UPSI, even if he can be a director, he can be an auditor, he can be an employee of the company, he can be a law advisor, anyone. Okay. Example, a contractual, if you want to say contractual, a software vendor hired to work on confidential projects. If a company hires a software vendor, he will be called as an associated person. Number two is fiduciary. Board directors, auditors, legal advisors, financial advisors who are in the fiduciary relationship with the company will be called as associated people. Number three is an employee at any level in the organization. Number three is professional or business relationship. Includes temporary or permanent positions that allows access to UPSI or are reasonably expected to provide such access. Example, a financial analyst hired full-time, if we call as permanent, if we call as temporary, an auditor appointed for a short-term project. So he can be a permanent person or he can be a temporary person, doesn't matter. If he has access to UPSI or if he can have access to UPSI, he will be called under association. So modes of association are three conditions. Number one is, people, modes of association. Number one condition is frequent communication with officers. Number two, contractual, fiduciary, employment. Number three is professional business relationship. If these people are associated with a company in the preceding 6 months of UPSI Act, they will be called as a connected person, people. Okay. Next condition is direct or indirect access to UPSI. They should have, these people should have, one, two, three. These people should have directly or indirectly access to UPSI. Then only they will be called as a connected person. Okay. If they do not have the access to UPSI, they will not be called as a connected person, people. Plus direct, indirect access to UPSI. Now people, from here this is what is called as connected person. Connected person means a person who was associated with the company in the past 6 months, plus he had access to UPSI or could have access to UPSI, can be called as a connected person. Now, what is called as association? Association का मतलब क्या है? Association means frequent communication with the officers, is in the capacity of fiduciary, contractual or employment relationship, or as a professional or business relationship. This is called as connected person. Now let's understand who are deemed to be connected person. Even though they are not connected with the company, still some people will be called as deemed to be connected person. Let's understand who are they. People, I hope you are taking the screenshot of this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. Let's understand who are deemed to be connected persons. Certain categories of people or entities are automatically considered connected person unless proven otherwise. Number 1 is immediate relatives. Rajat Gupta, his spouse, his parents, children, siblings living together or financially dependent on the connected person will be called as immediate relatives. This is clear, people. This is very obvious. Next is group companies. Holding associate subsidiary companies of the organization. Holding subsidiary or associate companies of, let's say, Goldman Sachs will be also called as deemed to be connected person. Number 3 is intermediaries or their employees. Entities like stockbrokers, merchant bankers, auditors registered with SEBI under section 12 can also be called as deemed to be connected persons. Next is people, investment related companies and their employees. Investment companies means the fund manager of a mutual fund holding a large stake in the company. Let's say Galleon Group Hedge Fund was a fund manager of Goldman Sachs. Then we can say that Galleon Hedge Group Fund will be called as deemed to be connected person. Okay. Investment companies, trustee companies, asset management companies will be called as deemed to be connected person. Next is people, stock exchange officials. Employees or officials of stock exchanges or clearing houses will be also called as deemed to be connected person. Over here, a clearing house employee who processes trade settlements involving the company. If this person is an employee of a clearing house, possesses UPSI of Goldman Sachs regarding Warren Buffett's investment, he will be having the UPSI, then he will be called as deemed to be connected persons. 5 points. 6th point is Mutual fund board members or employees. Board members or employees of, let's assume people, a mutual fund, let's say XYZ mutual fund has invested in Goldman Sachs. This mutual funds board members and employees will also be called as deemed to be connected person. Next is public financial institution members or employees. For example, let's say SBI has granted a big amount of loan to Goldman Sachs Limited, Goldman Sachs Inc. Okay. So, assuming SBI has granted a big loan to Goldman Sachs, the directors or employees of SBI will also be called as deemed to be connected persons. Next is people, self-regulatory organization employees. Employees of entities authorized by SEBI to regulate specific market activities. Example, officials from a SEBI recognized credit rating agency. We've understood the meaning of credit rating agencies in the chapter of raising finance from capital markets, people, where we have learned that if a company wants to gain the trust of the investors before going for IPO, they can get their IPO graded by credit rating agencies, because of which a company may share a lot of UPSI with the credit rating agencies. So the directors and employees of the CRA will also be called as deemed to be connected person, people. Are we clear? Okay. Next is people, bankers of the company. Banks with financial dealings with the company. An account manager at HDFC Bank who manages the company's account will also be called as deemed to be connected person. Cool, people. Let's draw a mind map for this. Who will be called as deemed to be connected persons? Number one is people, immediate relatives. Who will come under relatives, people? Family members like spouse, parents, children, siblings, living together, or if they are not living together, still they will be called as deemed to be connected person when if they are financially dependent on that person. Financially dependent. Next is group companies. Group companies will include holding, subsidiary, associate company. Next is intermediaries or employees. Over here, stock brokers, merchant bankers, or auditors registered with SEBI. Investment related companies plus employees. Over here, it will include trustee companies or asset management companies. Next is stock exchange officials. Employees, officials, of stock exchange or clearing houses. Next is mutual fund. Mutual fund board members or employees. Next is public financial institution, members or employees. For example, LIC or SBI. The last is self regulatory organization employees. Employees of entities authorized by SEBI. Okay, so how many people? How many deemed to be connected person? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 1 is immediate relatives. Number 2 is group companies like holding, subsidiary, associate company. Number 3 is intermediaries or employees, where stockbroker, merchant bankers, and auditors that are registered by SEBI will come. Number 4 is portfolio financial company, where members or employees will come into picture. Number 5 is investment related companies, where employees or trustee company or AMC will come into place. The last 3 is people, stock exchange officials, employees or officials, where stock exchange or clearing houses employees or directors will come into picture. And the last 2 is mutual fund and self-regulatory organization employees. Okay, you can take a quick screenshot Because this is, I told somewhere, portfolio, that is public financial institution, but not portfolio. Okay. Conduct a quick screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. So till now, people, we have learned who are the connected person. Connected person will be categorized under connected person and deemed to be connected person. Connected person means who has been associated with the company since last 6 months, who has got UPSI. Associate means frequently communicating with the officers, contractual, fiduciary, or professional or employment relationship. Next is professional or business relationship, who have got directly or indirectly access to or can have access to UPSI. Are we clear, people? Are we clear? Okay. Next concept we are going to learn is generally available information. Very, very simple concept, people. Means information that is publicly accessible to everyone without any restrictions or favorism. In that case, we understood Rajaratnam was given favorism by Rajat Gupta. Okay. If that news was made publicly available, then that information will be called as generally available information. But that was not the case. Only Rajaratnam had that UPSI, because of which he traded and earned $1 million profit. Immediate relative, people, we have learned it includes spouse, parent, sibling, child. These relatives are considered immediate if they are financially dependent on the person or consult them for decisions related to trading in securities. Next, we are going to learn as people insider. We have learned that already, but again we'll see what is the meaning of insider. Insider means a connected person. Connected person will include connected and deemed to be connected person. A person who is in a relationship with a company, such as being a director, employee, or business partner, they have access to confidential confidential information about the company. A person who knows or has access to UPSI even if they are not directly associated with the company. These people are called as insider. So people, insider means a connected or deemed to be connected who possesses plus access to UPSI. Are we clear, people? Are we clear? You can take a quick screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam. Okay. All right, people, we have learned till now the definition part. We have learned who is an insider. We have learned who are connected person, who are called as deemed to be connected person, what information is called as UPSI, and yeah, we have learned this till now. Next concept, what the law says, people, you should not deal with or trade with UPSI. Okay, now let's understand what are the restrictions on communication and trading by insiders. Okay, all right. The restrictions on communication and trading by insiders under SEBI's regulation are designed to prevent misuse of UPSI, which could unfairly influence stock prices. Here's a breakdown of the rules and examples where this is required. The rule says, people, the rule says no insider shall communicate, procure, or provide access to UPSI except for legitimate purposes. We will understand this later on. Okay. The rule says no insider shall communicate, procure, or give access to UPSI which says insiders like employees or directors are prohibited from sharing or accessing UPSI unless the purpose is legitimate purpose. Now, legitimate purpose, what does that mean? Legitimate purpose could include activities like company operations or legal transactions. The company's board must have a policy to define what constitutes a legitimate purpose. For example, people, let's say a company is going to acquire shares of B company. Okay. Now, during this transaction, before this transaction take place, B company wants to give information about B company to A company so that a transaction can happen smoothly. Okay. The purpose of communicating this price sensitive information is so that the transaction of the acquisition can happen smoothly. Okay, whatever information is required by the acquirer, that information is obviously required so that the transaction runs smoothly. So this type of information when communicated to the acquirer is called as people, what is called as legitimate purpose. So what this rule says is, people, restrictions on communicating plus trading by insiders. The first point is no insider shall communicate. Procure means to take that information, like let's say Rajaratnam took that information from Rajat Gupta. Okay, that is called as procuring. Procure or giving access to. Rajat Gupta gave access to UPSI to Rajaratnam. Only exception is, people, only exception is if that information is given for legitimate purpose. Legitimate purpose means, example, acquirer gets UPSI from target company so that the acquisition can happen smoothly. Or let's say, people, like the last chapter we learned, if I want to go for an IPO and I want to gain the confidence of the investors, so what I will do is I will hire or appoint an independent credit rating agencies to do a thorough due diligence of my IPO, what is my IPO is about, to do a thorough research about my business activities, and during that due diligence, if they discover some UPSI, that is called as legitimate purpose. Okay, so that is only in bona fide intention. Okay, that was not for the mala fide intention, so that that person can have access to UPSI and can gain profits, illegal profits. That was not the intention. The intention was the due diligence should happen of the IPO so that my IPO can be graded, so that my investors will gain confidence of my IPO. Cool. CRA getting UPSI access from the company during IPO grading. IPO grading, okay? Yes, people. The next concept is notice to insiders to maintain confidentiality. Insiders must be formally informed to keep UPSI confidential and comply with the regulations. For example, if in my company an employee discovers UPSI, I should have a proper code of conduct regarding how that employee must be communicated about how to treat that UPSI. He should not communicate with any of the persons related to him. Okay, that is the intention. So notice to insiders to maintain confidentiality. Every insider should be given a notice about how to maintain the confidentiality of the UPSI. A company sends out notice to its employees reminding them to not disclose financial projections before they are publicly released. Notice to insiders to maintain confidentiality. Example, not to disclose financial results. UPSI can be shared in certain situations, like when can UPI be allowed to share? Let's understand those situations. Number one situation is when an acquisition happens, people. If one company is buying another company, the buyer may need to make an open offer to purchase shares from the public. UPSI, like the details of the acquisition, can be shared with the buyer to help them make this offer. I'll explain you this thing. When a company is acquiring B company gives certain information to make the acquisition smooth. Cool, people, understood? If you are not able to understand anything, people, you can just drop your doubts in the comment section. I will be happy to solve your doubt immediately. Okay. Cool. Next, when board approves sharing UPSI, okay, if the company's board decides that sharing the UPSI is in the company's best interest, they can share it, but they must make the information public at least 2 trading days before the transaction takes place. For example, people, if A company is acquiring B company, only B and A companies know about this acquisition. Okay. So what happens is, supposing this transaction takes place, before 2 days, this news should be sent out in public. This will be obviously with the consent of the board. Okay, this is what it is saying. Imagine company A wants to acquire company B. Before acquisition, company A might want to share UPSI with potential investors or the buying party. However, company A must announce the deal to the public 2 days before any of the parties involved can act on that information. This prevents insiders from using the information to their advantage before others are aware. The reason is, people, before this information goes to only certain individuals who can immediately take advantage of the UPSI and start trading and earn huge amounts of profit, what this is saying is, immediately before 2 days, you only disclose this information to the public. Once you disclose this information to the public, the stock price will automatically adjust itself and these people will not be able to cash in their profits. Okay. So before these people act on the information, that is not publicly available, immediately you make it publicly available so that these people will not have any undue advantage of this UPSI. Understood, people? Okay. UPSI can be shared in certain situations. What are those two situations, people? Number one is when an acquisition happens to help the buyer to make an open offer. The concept of open offer, people, we are going to understand this in the next chapter, that is the takeover code. But still, in short, I will explain you what it says is, if Elon Musk wants to acquire more than 25% shares in Reliance, if he wants to acquire more than 25% shares in Reliance, let's say he wants to acquire these shares from Ambani's. Directly, Elon Musk wants to acquire 25% shares from the Ambani's. This is not allowed, people. Before he purchases more than 25% shares from the Ambani's, he needs to make an open offer. An open offer to whom? To the general public, for offer of how much, people? Offer of 26% at least. Okay. First thing he needs to make an open offer to the public, whereby general public will be given a chance to sell their shares to Elon Musk, because if such a huge transaction takes place and the control goes from Ambani's to Elon Musk, we never know what will be the consequences of that transaction. Stock prices may go up, stock prices may go down, companies will develop, companies may collapse, we never know, people. That is why before Elon Musk purchases shares from the promoters, he should give an open offer to general public, giving them the opportunity to exit their shareholding. The general public, so this is called as, people, open offer. The general public, if they believe in Elon Musk, they will not sell their shares. If they do not believe in Elon Musk, they will sell their 26% of their shares. And after 26%, if he wants to acquire any shares less than 5%, he can acquire from Ambani's. But if more than 5%, if he acquires, again open offer has to be made, which we will learn in detail in the next chapter, that is the takeover code. Okay, people, this is the meaning of open offer. You can take the screenshot of this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. When an acquisition happens, when the board approves UPSI, when the board approves sharing UPSI, to prevent certain people who have got access to UPSI from trading plus making profits. Hence, to stop them from doing this, the board consents to disseminate, to release this information directly to the public so that these people will not be able to make undue profits. Cool, people? Yes. So the topic was, people, restrictions on communicating plus trading by insiders. We learned 3 criteria. Number 1 is no insider shall communicate, procure or give access to UPSI. Number 2, notice to insiders to maintain confidentiality of the UPSI. Number 3, UPSI can still be shared under certain conditions. Number 1, an open offer is made during the acquisition to make the acquisition smooth, or the board voluntarily discloses that information to stop those certain individuals who have got UPSI to make undue advantage with those UPSI. The last condition is, we have got another 3 conditions. The last, third condition is structured digital database. Structured digital database. What this is, people, the company should have a structured digital database where anyone who has got access to UPSI will be recorded in the database. What type of UPSI, the nature of the UPSI will also be recorded. Who has access to the UPSI will also be recorded, and this person has given the UPSI to whom, that will also be recorded. Even though it is for legitimate purposes, it will still be recorded in the database. So the database contains the nature of UPSI, who has got access to UPSI, the person who has got access to UPSI, with whom he has shared the UPSI. That information will be stored in the digital database. Cool, people? Understood? Companies must maintain a digital database of all UPSI with adequate controls. The database should be preserved for at least 8 years or longer in case of investigation. If the company is into investigation, like let's say Kingfisher Airlines is into investigation, that company cannot say that 8 years are over, so I am going to destroy this digital database. He cannot say that. If he is under investigation, he should keep the digital database for more than 8 years. A company stores all internal financial reports and board meeting minutes containing UPSI in a secure digital database for a future reference and compliance. Stored for 8 years. It contains nature of UPSI, who has access to UPSI, the person who has access to UPSI has shared with whom. These include mutual funds, auditors, investment companies, and so on. Okay. Next is no insider trading in securities while possessing UPSI. If you possess UPSI, you cannot trade in securities. An insider cannot trade in securities when they are in possession of UPSI. If an insider trades while having UPSI, they might be guilty of insider trading. However, they can defend themselves by proving they were not aware of the UPSI at the time of trading. Over here, Rajaratnam, what can we say? The situation where Rajat Gupta has not shared through an SMS to Rajaratnam, where he has told that Warren Buffett is investing $5 billion. If this situation has not taken place, and still Rajaratnam would have traded in securities, then Rajaratnam would have to prove that he had no access to UPSI when he was trading. Simple. Example, a director has access to unreleased financial reports showing upcoming losses. They cannot trade on the company's stock while holding that information. If they do, they might face penalties, but they can defend themselves if they can show they did not know the contents of the report when trading. He just had these financial reports, the director, he did not have seen the financial reports. He just had access to financial reports, but he did not have any knowledge about the data in the financial reports, and he traded. So he needs to prove that he did not have any knowledge about what the financial results are saying. He just had access to financial results. Okay. Next. No insider trading while having UPSI. If trades, penalties, if he wants to defend himself, he needs to prove that he did not have the knowledge of UPSI. He had UPSI, but he did not have the knowledge of the UPSI, hence he traded in the securities, so he will be absolved from that penalties. The last is, people, burden of proof for connected person. If a connected person is accused of insider trading, they must prove that they did not have access to UPSI. In other cases, the onus is on the company's board of directors to prove that the person had access to UPSI. If I am a connected person, then the proof of onus, then the proof is on me. Okay. If I am the connected person, the burden of proof lies on me. I need to prove that I did not have access to UPSI, even though I am a connected person. If I am not a connected person, then the board of directors of that company needs to prove that I had access to UPSI. Are we clear? Burden of proof for connected persons. Connected, not connected. Lies on the connected person. Over here, the burden of proof lies on the board of directors of the company. Are we clear, people? Over here, we have learned how many things? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 points. We have learned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have learned 6 points, people. What are the 6 points? Number 1 is, we will start from the last. Number 1 is, burden of proof lies on, if he is a connected person, then the burden of proof lies on the connected person that he did not have access to UPSI. If a person who is not connected had UPSI, if a person who is not connected is accused of trading while having the UPSI, then the burden of proof lies on the board of directors. Okay. Next was no insider trading while having UPSI. If trades, then he will face penalties. If he wants to defend himself, he should prove that he did not have the knowledge of the UPSI. Okay. Number one, burden of proof. Number two, no insider while having UPSI. Number three is structured digital database where every single thing related to UPSI is recorded. The nature of UPSI, who has access to UPSI, and that person has given access to UPSI to which person. Every single thing is recorded for how many years? For 8 years. If it is under investigation, then more than 8 years. Three things: burden of proof, no trading in securities while having UPSI, and next is the structured digital database. Number four is UPSI can be shared in how many conditions? Number one is when acquisition is made during an open offer. Number two, when the board consents that sharing UPSI is required to stop certain categories of people who have to take undue advantage of UPSI that others, the remaining public, do not have. That information which only certain people are having and the remaining public are not having, and consequent to that information getting access to them, they are trading in the securities, which is not at all allowed. So because to stop that, the board decides to release that information to the general public to stop these people from trading in securities and gaining undue advantage. Okay, four conditions we have learned. UPSI can be shared in certain condition situations. Number two, structural digital database, no trading in securities, burden of proof. Number five is notice to insiders. Insiders should be well aware of if they have UPSI, how should they treat that UPSI, a notice, a clear code of conduct where every single person has the knowledge of how to share the UPSI is informed. To maintain confidentiality, not disclose the financial results. And the last one is no insider shall communicate, procure, or give access to UPSI. That's it, people. This is restrictions on communicating plus trading on UPSI. Okay, you can take the screenshot, people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Next, we're going to be learning is trading plan, general provisions, disclosures by certain people, code of fair disclosures, code of conduct, institutional mechanism for preventing insider trading. Okay, over here, people, 6th point, 5th point, and 4th point are a lot similar. Okay, remaining is, people, trading plan we need to understand, general provisions and disclosures by certain person we need to understand. Okay, we will continue learning these concepts in the next lecture, people. For today, that's all from my side. If you have any doubts related to the concept that I have taught, you can put that doubts in the comment section in my YouTube channel. I will be happy to assist you. I will be happy to solve your doubts. Okay, if you are finding these notes to be very useful, people, the notes I have structured, I have rewritten every single concept that is in the module, that is very bookish, people. You will find it very difficult to understand and learn. What I have did is I have rewritten every single line from that module to my own words, where it will be easy to understand, easy to learn, and easy to write and revise. In this way, I have made my notes, included lots of case studies and examples, so that you can understand the concept in the best way possible. I have drawn the mind map so that you will find it very easy to learn and revise before the exams. If you learn and revise in the exam in the conventional way, people, you are in final now. Okay, you cannot study in the conventional way. If you study in the conventional way, where you are learning every single thing over here like this before the exam, it's going to take a lot of time, people. You will not be able to learn and revise 100% syllabus. That is why these mind maps, Visual images are very easy to remember and recollect and write in the exam. That is why I have made mind maps. Okay, so people, if you want these notes, you can drop queries and fill the forms in the Google form below the YouTube link. You will find it, and you will be having access to my notes. Okay. So for today, that's all from my side, people. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.